Hey y'all, welcome back to the next video. If it sounds like I'm whispering and using my sexy voice, it's because I'm trying to keep it down because I got sleeping kids in the next room over, so that's what's going on. But anyway, in this video, I think I'm just going to do some, we'll do some refinements overall, like with the profile, and kind of get things more in line with our concept proportionally. And then I'm going to actually add my little, I think it's called like a dump pouch. It's not what you think. It's like something where they can dump all their accessories, their empty mags and garbage and things like that. So I'm gonna add that bag and then maybe dive into like a couple of the grenades, and then we'll wrap it up. So first thing I'm gonna do real quick, while I have the inspiration, I'm gonna move over to Transpose Master. Just hit T-Pose Mesh, switch everything over. Right now his neck is still pretty long and skinny, so I think that's the biggest thing I'm going to change, and just kind of give him a slightly more, I know I said I wouldn't, but I'm going to go with a more athletic build. So let's get this, if I do a transparency, you can see what I'm talking about here. Just going to give him more, like a little more traps, a little more of a, this angle here along the shoulder line, and then adjust his neck, and maybe even his overall head size could be a little bit smaller. I think that's going to help us get back to where we need to be. So so that's kind of what I think I'm going to go for. And so we'll start with the snake hook brush and start kind of pulling this out and up a little bit. Kind of want sharper edges too on this thing. This is supposed to be one of those kind of pads that goes around the straps just to kind of make it more comfortable, I guess, while they're hauling all that weight around with the mole gear. So I think already that's helped quite a bit, make his face just a little bit smaller here. And then I'm going to mask using my control lasso and just kind of mask the neck area. And then I'm going to, with symmetry on, I'm going to hold control, switch over to my mask pen, drop my intensity, and kind of feather this mask a little bit. And just keep feathering. Invert my selection, switch over to my transform gizmo dealio, and scale his head down just a little bit and drop it down in Y. And I think that's probably where I need to be. I don't know. I think right there is where we need to be. So get that there, kind of line this guy up. These are getting fairly close. I mean, I'm not trying to be just so nitpicky about it, but it's just something I was thinking about when I was reviewing it earlier. And then the other thing I wanted to do was kind of pop out some of these pockets just a little bit more. Kind of crank these guys out just a smidge. These ones are looking pretty good on this, on the arms. The legs could be kind of pulled up and out. See what we got going on here. So going to, oh, we're in transpose mode. I almost forgot again. So we are still making big broad adjustments here. Just a little bit more of a chest, and bring this neck back just a little. Okay, so I always like to kind of jump back to my old subtool just to kind of A/B between them, just to show the changes that I've made within that transpose. So this is kind of where it was, and this is where it is now, and I think that's looking a lot better. So I'm going to send that back, come over here to Transpose Master and hit T-Pose, send everything back. Cool. I'm gonna version up to my new version here, version 8. And these cuffs on this sleeve were also something I wanted to take a look at. Give them a little bit more thickness to them, make them look a little less leathery, and crank my intensity on my H polish brush and just kind of go to town. Give these guys a good amount of thickness. That's exactly what I was hoping there. We're still good to jump back into our Damien standard and just add a little bit of those striations, and I'm kind of obviously nitpicking. This is kind of the fun stuff for me. I like to sit there and take a step back and just walk away from things for a while and then come back and take a look, and it's almost like you're a whole new person and you have this new perspective, and you can see things that you couldn't see before. I think I have a weird brain where I fall victim to I don't know how to explain that, but I feel like I see things and then I go blind to its quality after a while after looking at it. It's probably normal for everybody. I know I certainly do it for sure. So sometimes I have to just get off of a project for a while. Sometimes I have to take a few months, and then I can come back to it later and I can see it, and I feel like I'm doing what needs to be done with that project by taking a break sometimes. Maybe that's just me. Okay, so I don't know. I think I like that a little bit better. And turn on off solo mode. You can kind of see what's going on. I'm gonna relax his thumbs just a little bit. They're just so flexed. Bring up my RGB intensity with the mask. Blur that a little bit. Switch back my mask pin, which is still set to 43. Feather that mask a little. Invert and switch over to my old school. I like to call it the old school gizmo because that's what it used to be like, and thank goodness they've left it in because I still love it. They never dies. Never get rid of it. You hear me, Zbrush? Okay. Unmask. Fix this weirdness. So I'm using the inflate brush now to just kind of bring that back in. And we might as well run over all these fingers and just kind of inflate those just a little bit. Just enough that they don't look so spread apart. It's going to help relax those guys just a little bit. Okay, so things are looking better. Let's go to the this little pouch here. You can't see my mouse, but he has this little pouch here right underneath this canteen, this water canteen that I want to make. So once again, you guessed it, we're going to append a cube right over his head. That just happens to be, that's probably the origin, the floor. That's where we need to be. So one thing you can do to kind of get your character in line with where it needs to be is you can come over here, turn on your transpose tool, transform gizmo, I should say, unlock and then relock things, and then you can just bring this guy down to the feet, and then relock. And then the secret is, if you want this cube to stay put, just mask it, and make sure that your one second here, make sure your RGB intensity is all the way up, and then make sure you turn back on that gizmo, and it's going to swap that back to where the cube was because you switched subtools. We're just going to bring that back to the feet, and then I'm just going to bring this guy up in Y. In this way, when we bring him into other software packages like our slicing software, 3D print software, or whatever, his feet are going to come in at the top of the grid instead of being down below. So it's just something you might want to consider too. I'm going to hit save. And these pouches are very, very simple. So they're just basically an open pouch. I clear my mask. And what I think I'm going to do, switch over to my orthographic view, and I'm going to go to visibility, grow that, hit Control W to polygroup these polygroups, and I'm going to use my Fancy Pants Z modeler, and I'm going to do an inset polygroup all for this particular first I'm going to do a polygroup auto group. That's the first things. And then I'm going to do an inset. Okay. And I'm going to just do an extrude on this particular polygroup and drop it down in Y. And just add like kind of a little bit of a shell to this to make it hollow. And then I'm just going to come over here and run a Dynamesh on it. Oops. And then smooth. And then we want our wall thickness to be enough that they're going to print okay. So I'm going to increase that wall thickness a good amount. I know it's going to look kind of weird, but just trust me, it'll look fine when it's printed at scale. So now we can start to kind of add, like, this bag isn't super rigid. They're fairly flexible. I think they're designed that way. So we're going to just misshape it just a little bit, you know, and make it look like it's just kind of there's no backing inside the fabric. That it's just kind of a soft canvas. I think these intentionally, actually I'm assuming that they do probably have like a lid that wraps over the top of it, so I'll try and do that. I think I inflated just a little bit too much. Let's deflate now. And then you'll notice that it did some weird things with your edges, so you'll want to re-Dynamesh just to fix those edges. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to wrap a lid around the front like so. So I'm going to grab my mask brush, come over here, center that to the center of the unmasked area, and then I'm going to just continue to Dynamesh and then just like bring this guy up. And then re-Dynamesh and mask and continue to do that until I've got this thing wrapping around okay. And then probably goes about halfway. Oh, we made contact, so we're going to scoot that, undo, go back to the mask, and then retry that. Okay, we just want to make sure that that doesn't make contact for now, just keep it somewhat clean. And then we'll come back here and then just clean this up a little bit, clean up all these weird little extrusions. Continue to just make this guy look as much like a canvas type fabric as we can. And because this is a larger pack, we could probably push the detailing on the seams just a little bit more. And we'll do that. We're going to use that fancy seam brush instead of doing this method where we just take the Damien standard. We'll come up here to, let's first give us some more resolution to work with. So I'll crank it to low 2s, maybe even the mid, like 300 or so. It'll give us the poly count we need. Do an H polish and kind of flatten this guy out just a little bit here. Just run that around. I love using the H polish to do this kind of detailing. It just adds a really kind of interesting, kind of carved feel. Alright, sweet. Let's do a save real quick. And then I'm going to load up, go to Lightbox Tools and go over to the brushes. And we're going to grab, where was that guy? In the stitch section, we're going to grab this guy, stitch 3, and see what it looks like. Get this cleaned up, this little line. Come back here, and it's going to bring back up the stitch thing. And see what that looks like. And I don't know if I like that. Let's see what else I got. Not a ton to choose from. Looks like that's pretty much all we had, so we can't use, let's do this. Let's see here. It's so weird. It's just got that one line that kind of juts out. Yeah, I'm not liking it. I think we're gonna go the traditional route. Come in here and just kind of make our seam sides and the back, I mean. Bring them right here. Okay, sweet. And then you guessed it, we're going to grab our inflate and just run along those quickly. And maybe just add an outer seam edge like that. I mean, if you really wanted to get crazy, you could come in here with the standard brush. And you could try kind of just, actually I would probably use Damien standard and go like this. Kind of have these interesting little kind of wrinkles in there. It's almost looking a little bit more like a leather though, so you gotta be careful with this kind of detailing. Maybe keep it a little bit more subtle. And like depending on the resolution of your printer, this stuff, these details could show up, and the scale of your character. So it's good to keep that stuff all in mind, you know. If you're gonna print this guy at like 12 inches, for sure it'll show up. But if it's just gonna be like a 6-inch figure or even smaller, it's not gonna be worth your time. I find this stuff kind of enjoyable, kind of fun. It's therapeutic. Smoothing back, you're going to lose some of the indentations there, so let's kind of try and carve that stuff back in. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I like this. I'm just kind of going for it anyway. We're pushed in real close, and it probably won't be as intense. We'll do this real quick and see how it looks. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time. All right, cool. Let's get this guy into place. I also don't like how it's rounded right here. Let's square that up. Yeah. Yeah, we're talking. I mean, there's probably, I think there's like a strap too that comes down like the center to keep that from opening up. Obviously, if you're like crawling around and get into the action, that could open up and you can lose everything in there. So I'm sure that they had this kind of, let's just do it. Let's run a strap that goes right there. I'm going to use my Move topological brush and then just hold this guy in, snug it up against that, and then use my curve strap once again and save real quick and draw this strap, have this come all the way down. We'll just come down to right here and then we'll fake it for the rest of the way. So it doesn't like to go over that edge. And this is not wide enough, so we're going to widen that. And it's not thick enough either, so we're going to inflate everything. Just do a broad inflate. And this got to come all the way to the back. It's got that one vert in there that's shooting out. We'll sink that in a little bit, but no worries. We're going to invert our mask, and then we're going to do the same to our pouch, so it's sinking in with it. Alright, cool. So I'm actually going to do a split hidden so I can just isolate and work this guy in a separate subtool for just a second here. And I'm just going to refine him. So I'm going to add my creases so that when I subdivide this, we can get rid of the polygons and it's going to crease appropriately. Yeah, so that's good for now. And then we'll do a polygroup and we'll polygroup, polyloop, and select that poly group right there. Just slide this edge loop complete over just a little bit. And then I'm going to do, and this is going to get weird down here, but it's fine. I'm going to do an extrude, pull these guys in, and then just hit Control D a few times. And don't worry about this because we're moving into Dynamesh anyway. I just wanted to do this quickly. So switch it over to Dynamesh now, and we'll do a clip curve and kind of clean up this bottom edge. And then use a, actually what I like to use here in this situation is go back to Lightbox Tools, go to Brushes. Instead of the Damien Standard, we'll use this Slash brush, which is a pretty rad brush. It's really, really good for like hard surface cuts and things like that, and things like this. You really want to do an intense kind of slash type thing. So for this right here, I want to add this interesting little crosshatch. This brush might be a little too intense for this stuff. So snake, I'm going to square this out with the snake hook brush again. Square this back out. And I'm going to use my Damien Standard. That one was too intense. But I can crank my intensity on the Damien Standard. Re-Dynamesh, and then you do this little crosshatch right here. And I kind of dig that. So, okay, cool. And so I got that guy on there. And we probably do want to add like a little buckle down there. See if there's a buckle brush. It looks like there is. Look at that. How about that? So let's just grab one of these guys. Let's grab this guy right here and throw that on it. Just drag that and see what that's going to look like. Remember to do a little bit of an inflate here too. Cool. I'm going to pull this strap down just a little and do some more like kind of striations in it. No, that's too intense. Alright, cool. I think we've nitpicked on that guy enough, so we're going to merge our buckle and strap back down into that pack, and then we're going to put this guy, unmask. I guess it was masked, even though it wasn't masked. That's weird. And then get this guy into place. So this guy would hang down below here and kind of awkwardly, oops, slap against that leg. It's a fairly large bag too. It looks kind of awkward and out of place, but is what it is. Is what it is. All right, cool. So I think we made some good progress in the profile of our character, just making him look more in line with where he should be. Let's make a grenade now. So this one's gonna be a fairly simple shape to come up with, so I'm just going to do the traditional like rounded grenade, and looks like there's a little bit of a cylinder that pops out the top there. So here's what we'll do. So I'm going to run a Z-Remesh on this and get this to be a lower poly count overall, just easier to work with. Looks like I did some weird stuff with our topology, so maybe I won't be doing that. Let's just leave it as is, and we'll come over here to the Z modeler. You know what? Let's just do an insert cylinder. We'll do that. So we'll come IMM primitives, and then we'll scroll over here and grab this cylinder. And we'll just mouse over that one point right there, and that'll do. That'll do for now. And then I'm going to do a deformation and do a taper in the Y direction. And that's going to give us just a little tiny bit of a neck here. And then from here, we're going to append a cube, and right now we're in solo mode, so let's just turn on these two guys and turn off solo mode, and we'll keep them separate for the time being, and then start making the top part of the grenade. So So I'm gonna jump right into Dynamesh here, just for kicks. Scoot this down just a little bit, and again, I do have reference up. I'm not just going for it. It's just on my other monitor over here. So I've just got some grenades up that I'm looking at. Some Vietnam era grenades. I'm gonna keep groups on while I do a re-Dynamesh. Let's see here. Looks like you could probably use some H polish, and I'm gonna actually change the way my symmetry is headed, so it's gonna be on the Z axis this time around. And I'm just gonna push this guy in and kind of work on these details just a little bit. There is some interesting kind of little bevels and things on that guy that I'd like to get. So I'll come in here and use the clip curve brush and try this guy, try a little this guy, and that's looking good. So now we gotta add I wish I knew the names of these things. The spoon, I think this is called. And what we're gonna do is let's do a mesh extract. So I'm getting the bottom unmasked, and then I'm just gonna do an extract of this real quick. Very nice. And we'll switch this over into Dynamesh, bump it up to 300 or so, clear our mask, and then we'll bring the, looks like the spoon kind of comes, let's see what it does here. The curve, the spoon, is it the spoon? I don't know what it's called. It's just gonna come down like this for now. Goes down pretty low, pretty much to the bottom of the grenade. Using the snake hook, symmetry is on. Just gonna add a little bit of a bend there. Oops. This is kind of fun because I mean you could put this on your desk. You could 3D print this guy alone if you wanted and just have it sitting on your desk. My father-in-law has one and it says take a number on it. And it's the number is take a number is on the firing or the pin that you pull out. Which reminds me, let's make that pin. I'm gonna do a save real quick. Looks like this guy probably juts out just a little bit too far, so we need to kind of come in with that. I'm gonna unmask first, and then get that guy in place, and then scoot this guy over. And that's good. So now we've got to add our little pin. So I'm gonna append a cylinder. Oops, that's a square. I must have failed geometry class. Delete this guy, get that out of the way. Cylinder 3D, and then I'm going to rotate him 90 degrees. See, it has a little number down there that tells you where you're at. And then I'm just going to I'm going to polygroup this, and then Control Shift left click on a point and get rid of everything else. Just delete it, and then we're going to add some thickness to this by extruding it out. And I think these are like rings that are kind of connected together. So this is probably getting a little bit too crazy. You can do a scale edge loop complete right here and scale that guy in like so. You could do that on the inside too if you'd like. Oh, what did I do? Scale edge loop complete. Okay. Scale that guy in, and then let's add an edge loop in there just to make sure that's gonna maintain. It's gonna stay in there. Okay. And oops. Trying to get this guy is kind of tricky. And then I'm going to scale it out in this direction just a little bit because I'm going to hit Control D and then subdivide it, and it's going to round it right out. So there's our little loopy loop deal for our pin. Seems like about the right size. Put a little bit of an angle on that guy. And hit save because I'm being a little bit obsessive. Sorry for the noises my chair makes. It likes to get in on the conversation. It's got character. Let's see, polygroup. Actually hit Control W and then polygroup. And then instead of doing what I was just gonna do, actually, you know, let's do it. So I'm gonna go back to my Z modeler brush and do an extrude on these faces. Just make sure it's on the set to polygroup all and just extrude those guys out. And then I'm going to add a cylinder right here. Just kind of scale it. If you go two directions, so if I just scale it like this, it's gonna like this, and then if I scale again in, it's gonna stretch that guy out like so. And then we're just gonna put that guy. I'm assuming it kind of goes all the way through. like that. And sweet, Control D. Actually, we need to increase these so it kind of maintains here. So using Z modeler, we're gonna add a few edge loops on these edges right here, maybe right here and right here, and then hit Control D and then delete lower. And I'm pretty happy with that. So is there any other details I missed? I mean, there's kind of like a cool, if you wanted to get crazy with it, you could go find a cylinder here, and then looks like there's a little bit of a hole right here. So I'm gonna hold Alt and then left click drag a cylinder, and where did it go? It's inside your mesh, and it's inverted normals. So because it's saying I'm gonna make this a subtraction of that because I held Alt. So now if I control left click and drag and clear my mask, and then control left click and drag again, it's gonna do a Boolean subtraction operation for that. So it's gonna cut that right out for us. And then it looks like there's actually another cylinder type thing here that's a positive, and it kind of just hangs out like right there. So we'll do another. I'm gonna bump my resolution just a little bit to maintain that, and then move this ring out of the way just a little. I think it's more like, let's say it goes like underneath right here. It looks like it goes through the spoon area. So let's get a little bit crazy with this. So we'll just we'll take this edge right here. We're gonna mask this guy as part of the spoon. I'm gonna blur it just a little and then resharpen it. And then I'm going to and then we'll just recenter our pivot and pull this guy out just a little bit. And maybe just kind of go like this. Let's see what this does. Okay, and then using my clip curve, I'm just going to kind of try to clean this up just a little. I don't know why I did that. Oh, it's because I have groups turned on. So I'm going to turn off groups and just shrink wrap that all together and just round these edges just a little bit. So we don't want things to be too sharp. And then this guy now at this point can actually, we'll just use the snake hook and pull this over just a little. And just kind of clean that up. Just gonna eyeball it. And then this guy is gonna go through that spoon, and so when that's pulled out, I guess it ignites the fuse on the inside, and we're ready to friggin' rock. So I'm gonna scale this up just a little bit, and then bring this guy back out. Out and down. And I feel like we've got a grenade. So another cool little detail we could add to this is we could just, I'm gonna Control D to subdivide to get rid of the polygonal faceting, and then rerun a Dynamesh here. And I'm just gonna save again because I'm pretty happy with things. I wanna make sure that I maintain my work here. So I'm gonna drag a little line with my mask right there, and then blur that mask. And then I'm gonna do a subtle little inflate in the deformation drop down, and center this pivot and do a scale, and now we got a cool little seam that runs around that. So I think that's pretty close to what we want. I don't know if we want to I mean, they do make grenades that are that shape too, and maybe we can do that shape, but I think what I'd rather do is do all of these grenades in this shape and then just make a smoke grenade too. So that's going to be fairly easy to achieve because we've already got the top part, which is basically the same. So we're just going to merge down these details and just maintain those. And then I'll duplicate this guy, or not this guy. I'll delete this guy, but I'll duplicate this guy down here, and then just merge these two together. So now these are our combined grenade, and let's get that in place and see how that's looking. So I'd like to have like 2 or 3 of these guys just hanging off of his straps on this side over here. But I did kind of want to get his K-bar knife on a strap hanging right here. So maybe we'll just do this one grenade right here. I kind of like the idea that it's a little bit bigger than maybe it would be in reality. So I think that's kind of cool. And then let's do this. Let's just kind of bring this one down right here. And then this way we could still possibly get a a knife in right over here over this pocket. The hardest part about this guy is it's gonna be like, where do we fit everything when we get everything built? Because he's just got to be loaded, armed to the teeth with gear. Because that's what these guys were all about. They were all about being prepped and ready to go. So it's cool. You could like take one and move one over here. And the other thing I was noticing was that I'm gonna make one of these its own poly group. So I'm just gonna mask this guy out and hit Control W, and then now I can just kind of isolate this guy. And I'm going to move some of these in. Like I noticed some of these guys were like tying these into their packs, like they're like the butt pack or something. They're like kind of hanging these. I always wonder how they hang these with like the absolute assurance that they weren't going to go off, you know, because that's a bad day. So they would kind of fit them in like into these little slots. Like some of these guys had like 6 or 7 grenades on them. And these things aren't super light. I mean, they all add up. These guys were animals. Okay, so we're just kind of squeezing them in here. I don't know if I like that or not, but we'll try it. We might have to scoot these packs apart and try to fit them in there if we're really desperate to have them. I don't know. We'll leave them for now, and then we'll move on. Let's move on to our. Well, it looks like I didn't want to move that guy. I wanted to keep that guy there and just duplicate it. So we'll do this again real quick. Yeah, I'm not really sure how they hung them. I guess that's something that the Google could probably tell us. That's cool. I mean, they're probably they're a little too big too. They're probably a little intrusive because they're too big. So I might have to go back and scale those at some point. But for now, let's just move on to the smoke grenade and get that detailing going. So I'm going to turn off all of my subtools, hold shift and left click on that eye, turn everything else off, and then I'm going to append a cylinder 3D and start working on this guy. Now these guys, just looking at the reference, so we want to roughly like so. This guy kind of over that way. Hit Control D to subdivide this guy, and you're going to see some interesting stuff going on. Hit P to switch to orthographic view. Make sure you're doing your clip curve with your orthographic view turned on to be safe. And then I've just subdivided this guy to get rid of the polygons. And then let's get this ring kind of. Let's see what we got here again. So. Control Shift left click, drag a rectangle, send these guys over to the invisible layer, and then I'm gonna just rotate this pin. Oops, not with symmetry on. Get this out of the way. Looks like we have to now rotate our pin back, which is fine. It's fine that's ugly because we're gonna dynamesh this all together. And then Control Shift left click tap and bring everything back, and let's use our move topological brush to get the spoon out of the way. I'm guessing that's why they call it a spoon, because it's got this bow in it, kind of like a spoon handle. I could be totally wrong, and that might not be the spoon, but I'm gonna call it the spoon. It actually looks like smoke grenades don't have as much of a curve on these as your traditional grenades. And awesomely, I don't have symmetry on, but yeah, let's undo and get our symmetry back on. There we go. That's just going to be an easier solution. And do this again. That's already cool looking. Sweet. So this guy's pretty long too, and then are there any details we could add? Like for this guy, instead of going like. What we could do is come up here to the top. Looks like there's a little bit of a ridge on the top. We can come over to our deformation, do an inflate, kind of get us a little bit of a ridge up there. And I'm assuming there's a little bit of a ridge down here too, kind of like a traditional like soup Campbell's can. Let's make it wider so it's going to show up and maybe bigger. And then actually, this is not in Dynamesh just yet. So delete lower, run a Dynamesh at like 240, and then let's add like a little tiny inset right here. If you invert your selection and do a smooth and then re-invert, sometimes you get some interesting effects or interesting things going on. And we've got that inset just a little bit. Now I'm going to draw an even finer line and then deflate that guy in. Now we've got kind of an interesting little bevel here. Awesome. Okay, so now we've got our smoke grenade, which is I think how these guys would call in air support and Cassavax and things like that. So let's hit save. Did I just do that? Sometimes I forget. Okay. Let's unlock and then recenter our pivot to turn off symmetry, relock, and get this guy into place. So we're going to put these guys maybe over here on the side. A couple of these guys. Make them not too big. I kind of like that the little loop thing was, the pin itself was on the other side. We could do, let's just do this, let's undo this real quick. This is kind of nitpicky, but let's go to deformation and do a mirror on X. And then we can come around here and get this guy rotated and have the pin on the outside. And I would imagine these guys would want to like grab that, or have at least their finger on the pin first thing, just so they, maybe I'm totally wrong, maybe that's the opposite of what you want to do. But just to make sure that you have control over that first thing with the muscle memory and everything. I don't know, I should maybe have just joined the military as a kid so I had these answers, but it's too much of a baby. Alright, so let's do this real quickly because this is so thin. This is not gonna print. So I'm gonna take the inflate brush and just like kind of just run an inflate on this. And I know it's gonna look goofy, but you will notice it later on. So even with the ring itself, let's just Control Shift left click on that ring. Looks like we've already combined it, thank goodness. Do the polygroups, auto group, and then it'll make that its own polygroup. So now we can just run a broad inflate on that. Okay, that's gonna be more likely to print at that scale than. We could do a couple of these. I think I'm just going to do the one for now, and I just ran a Dynamesh I think on all of it. Whoops, what am I doing? Shift F. Look how dense that is. Let's run a Dynamesh just for optimization, and we'll do like a 320 or so, and I'll do. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to duplicate this guy in case we wanted to do anything with it, just to have it as a backup. And then this guy will run a Dynamesh on because it's going to be somewhat destructive doing this. So you can see like we lose control over some of the polygonal side of things. So now it's just kind of an ugly mesh. I like to do this just to kind of keep things safe, and then we'll just move this guy, inside of his body geo so he doesn't get in the way. We'll probably end up deleting that later. Anyway, man, we're getting real jumpy. I might have to do a reboot of my computer. It's getting kind of laggy. So yeah, it's helping a lot. So we've added a lot to this guy just in this video. I think first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale these guys all down just a little bit, and then replace them because they're just a little bit too big. Let's just go like yay big. And we'll probably have to do the same thing with the spoons and with the pins on these guys. In fact, let's not. I kind of like that guy. I don't know. We'll get rid of these guys for now. Just get rid of them. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. And then with these guys, let's just Control Shift left click on the rings, and then on the actual spoons themselves. Hopefully we got all our geo in there. Invert our selection, and while these are visible, we'll just do a blanket inflate and just increase those sizes out. And yeah, that's looking good. And again, so for these guys, I'm going to duplicate this. One of them will be my backup, just in case we need it. And then the others, we'll just run a Dynamesh on these guys and get these all Dynamesh together and buttoned up. So do like a 400 Dynamesh, and yeah, we'll come over here with our lasso and just get rid of the lower one, and then we'll just retain this guy as a backup. It's just kind of a non-destructive way of working, just maintaining some of these guys, just in case you ever want to go a different direction with them. Maybe just keeping clean topology. We got some weird stretching in his stomach area that's been bothering me, so I'm gonna fix this real quick. And then I think we're gonna call it with the video, because I'm due for a reboot because my machine seems to be getting laggy. Again, if you guys like what you see, don't forget to just get involved and let me know. It's very motivating hearing your guys' input, and I value that. So leave me a comment and do all the things. And if you see something super dumb that I'm doing, let me know and we can fix it. All right, cool. So we made some good progress on this guy today. We got the dump bag and the grenades, and refined his forms a little bit. So I think he's looking more in line with. Let's take a look. He's looking a little bit better. Looks like I do have a smoke grenade down below. Oh, and then we need some M203 grenade launcher rounds too that we've got to make. So we'll make that in the next video. But I think before I wrap this up, I'm just gonna duplicate this this smoke grenade and move that right there. And then I noticed too that some of these guys would like tape. They'd run tape around these spoons so they couldn't get yanked out or anything like that, just to be safe. I don't know if that was necessary or anything. I thought about adding tape with like his blood type on it somewhere too. It's kind of morbid, but these guys they did that kind of stuff. So I'm going to make some last minute adjustments here to the hair. I'm going to merge all this hair down and his mustache and everything back into his face geo so that I can modify those all together. Where's his mustache, guys? Where'd it go? So I'm just going to alt left click on it over there, and then hold shift and take that to the very top, and then merge that all down. So all of his hair is now combined into one tool. I'm going to hit Control W, so that's all its own poly group. So we can always split this out again if need be, and then Control W on the body geo, and then merge this down. And this is kind of like doing a mini transpose here, but I'm not fully committed to going into like full transpose. So, but I just want to make a few really subtle adjustments. Getting kind of a weird bow on his neck right there. This is gonna look crazy without his gear on, with all these weird adjustments, but I want him to look a little bit more juvenile is what I'm going for, because these guys were so young, man. I think I want to call attention to that. I don't want him to look like this 40-year-old, vet. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get. So like a smaller, kind of more adolescent-like jawline, less jutting, and yeah, and at the very end of this, we'll rotate his head a little bit, like he's looking at camera, just like in this image. So, oops, it looks like maybe his eyes are a little too inset, like into his face. We'll pull those out just a little, and then he's got a pretty Roman-esque kind of nose, actually. Okay, sweet. Sweet, sweet. This kind of area down here is getting me. Don't know why. I think I might need another wrinkle kind of coming in, or maybe that's too much. So using Damien Standard, H polish, and smooth right now. I'm trying to, I like that carved feel that H polish gives me, so I'm trying to just push that around a little and see if I'm digging that. His knees are a little bit maybe too low, so I'll scoop those up. Now we're starting to get his inner legs poking through. And there's no need to really have this geo on the inside in here. I'm just going to keep it for a second. Really, I could just delete out his arms and delete his, so he doesn't have actual body geo underneath all this. This is really just kind of causing a headache at this point. Overall, I'm pretty happy with where things are headed. I think I'm going to pull these packs out just a little. And make those a little bit crazier, looking a little bigger. And we actually need to fix, sorry guys, I'm starting to obsess over this a little bit. We need to fix this guy. I'm trying to look for my reference here. Where was that at? I'm not seeing my ref for this. But this isn't looking right. So maybe in the next video we'll fix what's going on back here and clean up his back area a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to add a backpack yet because he's not wearing a backpack in his image, and I kind of like that. Although these guys most likely would have been carrying as many packs as they possibly could have. Alright guys, we're getting there. Very exciting. We went to transpose, I guess, at some point, so we're going to make sure we do a save as. I do find that transpose breaks our save button almost every single time, so I'm not sure if I'm the only one experiencing this. If you guys are having that issue, I'd be curious to know if you were. Then we could submit a ticket to Maxon and get that shenanigans figured out. One last touch here. I'm going to add these little, maybe I won't. Control D. Add these guys. I have these little seams right here. We can refine these later, but across the bottom. And these out because he's got gear in those, man. He's got like some floss and maybe like his Pokemon Go, Pokemon cards or whatever, his Nintendo Switch. So again, just all left clicking between subtools to be able to get quick access to those. Not messing around. All right. And I'm not really sure how this guy attaches to the mole gear. I'm assuming there's a strap that like would go up behind and just kind of attach. And these little ripples that I drew are driving me crazy, dude. I can't stand them. So I'm gonna bring those guys in just a little using my H polish. It'll look too much like leather. I don't want it to look like leather. Okay, hitting save and going to bed. So please get involved in the discussion. Let me know what questions you might have and maybe other projects you'd like to go through. So anyway, we'll see you in the next one. We're going to cover basically probably just wrapping up some more of the gear, maybe make his K-bar knife and his watch, and then I think in the final video we'll work on the gun, which the gun's going to take a while. That's a lot of hard surface work, so it's going to take a while to make that. But we'll work on that for a video, and then we'll probably take another video just to get them all posed up. So if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.